Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Combat Chatters podcast. And this week we're going to be going over the previous week's main card. It was the fight night between Tsurukyan and Dariush. It's a good card, a good main card. I think that predictions may have been. I think I did. Did you go Bobby Green on the pod?
Yeah, I did. I went Bobby Green on the pod and I went Bobby Green on verdict. I think this was probably one of my worst weeks with my predictions. I did awful. I think you were right still, weren't you, with your pick?
Yeah, I went Bobby Green though, and I thought to myself, well, I'm not going to go Bobby Green,
Mm.
and I just never changed it, and I lost out on quite a few points because I got the
Yeah,
round right in that. But we are joined by Harry again.
little freeway on the pod. That's a bit weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously it was a great card. The prelims, two slam knockouts back to back as well, which is crazy. I mean, Harry, you've been watching the UFC longer than me,
Yeah, long
and
time.
I mean,
Two in one night is mental.
yeah.
I mean, they usually they fall. They seem to fall off.
Mm.
We don't see them very often,
No.
but that happens with a lot of stuff, in my opinion. And then all of a sudden everyone gets the confidence to
Mm.
try it again, and you see an uprising in them again, and it's meant to see because hopefully we'll see a lot more people
Yeah.
try to use it in the future. I know it's a bit of a brutal way to go out,
Yeah.
but
So
it's hella fun to watch.
it can be quite harsh to the eye, especially the one where he slammed him on the side of his head,
Yeah, that one was.
temple
But
straight out.
nothing
Yeah.
in the rules says he can't
No,
do that.
no, you're allowed. And yeah, I think, like you said, they're a very rare thing, and to have two back to back, it just got me so excited for the main card.
Hmm.
Before we get into any of the UFC, I just a bit of a weird thing, but I just wondered if any of you guys saw Brock Lesnar's daughter broke like the shot record in her
Was it
college.
actually Brock Lesnar's daughter,
Yeah, nah,
or was it him?
nah. It's just Brock Lesnar with a wig on him. If you see a photo of this woman, it's scary.
Yeah, she's a unit.
Yeah,
She's more of a unit than
yeah,
most
man, yeah.
most men. Yeah,
But yeah,
Jesus, wouldn't
that
want to get in a fight with her on a Saturday
no,
night.
definitely not. That was crazy.
Yeah, but breaking a record as well. Brock
Mm,
Lesnar's breeding proper fucking monsters out
yeah,
here, isn't
yeah. But for the fights last week, one fight that you predicted right, and pretty much every single one of us in our verdict league got wrong. You did go Dustin Schultz first, and it was actually a really impressive performance in the end. I don't know what your thoughts were on it.
So I think when it comes down to Salzburg, he doesn't look as if he's necessarily, I'd say, like really high level or anything like that. So, but he does the basics
Mm,
very well. But it's really subtle. It's really subtle. It's not super exciting. He doesn't look anything other than relatively basic.
mm,
But he does his basics well. What I said about Soriano is Soriano. I don't want to say he was too one dimensional because you can't judge looking at their last fight always. That's not
yeah,
always how they're going to fight. But even then with Soriano, although he did show a bit more, although he did throw him the kicks, in all fairness to him, I think it starts that's with the experience as well.
mm,
You know, he's got a few
he?
more fights over him, and just knowing how to because Saltzpats he's fought a lot of fighters in this
yeah.
UFC. So I didn't expect a submission.
No,
No, I didn't either. Actually, the submission was a surprise. I was really impressed with the little teep kick
yeah,
that
yeah,
Stoltz first
yeah.
kept doing to Soriano's leg in the first round. I thought that was really good way of
Mm,
breaking Soriano down and keeping his range as
yeah,
well, because you get one of them snappy little knee kicks and it hurts and it makes you not want to come forward so
yeah.
much.
And it's a good point you make about, you were saying when we were watching the fight as well, especially later on in the first round, how Stoltzfus was finding his range. Early on, Soriano was always going to land some power shots on you. He's an aggressive, heavy hitter. And I think those teep kicks to the knee, side kicks to the knee, they definitely just kind of maybe stop that another one of those big shots following up after he did get hit. When you're moving into them, that's a damaging move, stamping on the knee. We saw Khalil Roundtree, who we're going to talk a little bit about later. I mean, he literally tore someone's kneecap by doing it.
Mm.
I think it was Michaelitis. That was one of the nastiest TKOs we've seen in the UFC. So definitely a dangerous move. But yeah, I was super impressed with Dustin Saltzford. I predicted him to lose just because his last fight. I think it was like Abush Magomedov knocked him out so quick. Took a year and a bit off after that. It's a hard thing to come back from. Last week I was talking about confidence wise, but to get the finish, how important is that for his career, Fergal, do you think?
It's one of those things. I think that, like I said in the last week pod, with the No Madoff, it was we didn't really know much of him at the time.
Mm.
And it did look as if he did get finished very poorly, like some confidence. But then if you look at like Luke, for example, how Luke came back,
Yeah.
I know that they're definitely at different stages in their careers, 100%. A lot of the time, having this time off does help out, and I think that this does really keep him in the mix
Yeah,
for
definitely.
potentially looking to fight forward. He's not too far into his career at all. He's
No.
had 20 fights,
Mm.
so he's very much a newcomer. And Soriano as well. He's also 14 fights in,
Yeah,
15
yeah.
fights in. I probably not even that.
No, I
Maybe
think about
13. Like
12, yeah, something like that.
so. I think that this is definitely it's good, and it would be interesting to see him fight maybe a slightly tougher opponent. I think that he's still got a lot of
Yeah.
room to go, and he is still a bit too basic. He hasn't quite got the weapons yet, or
Yeah.
he's not quite worked on them enough.
It's a good starting point, though.
Definitely.
It's a great starting point. They do the, if he can get a couple more wins behind his belt, then he can start looking forward to bigger things and stuff like that. And he didn't look bad.
No,
He
didn't.
looked. It was a really good performance.
Yeah, he's a very hittable guy, which is always worrying going forward.
But you can learn that. Though.
Yeah.
You can learn that. Some people don't have it. Some
The
people.
head movements are dodgy ones.
Yeah,
It's
but
not easy.
it's not an easy one to learn. But you can do it. You can do it, and especially when you're fighting at that high level, like you've got the coaches there for anything you need to learn.
And we saw how good he was although he lost to Gerald Meerschaert. Gerald Meerschaert's the type of guy that, when we're sat around and we've had a few beers, we don't rate him necessarily as highly as we should. But, now we sit here and we actually look into fighting. He's a very good fighter, Gerald Meerschaert. He's got 20 plus finishes, so many submissions, beat some really elite fighters, and Stoltzfus was.
I always get taken the mick out of for saying I like him on UFC night. All the boys there, I'm always the one that gets terrorized for saying this guy's a good fighter.
Nah, he is a really good fighter. And Stoltzfus was winning that fight, not comfortably, but like quite clearly until he got submitted in the third round. So it does show that he is on a level where maybe he can be pushed towards the rankings at some point. But getting on to the next fight, I think we'll go to you on this one first, Harry, because Clay Guida is such a legend. How good was it to, everyone, he was meant to get smoked in that fight. Really, and
put out
some people thought he won. It was a close fight.
I kind of can see why people thought he won too. He put out a mass pace.
Yeah.
For someone, 43, is it?
43.
43, that's mental. That's old, man, for a sport like this. And taking the amount of damage this guy has in his career and to still be putting out a pace, and it's not just like he's running forward, like he's actually hitting him.
Yeah.
Like he was getting his shots off, he was getting takedowns. It looked like but he's always come out and done this, to be fair. He had a couple of really shady years, but he's always been one of them dogs, like proper cage dogs.
Yeah.
And I've always loved watching him fight, and it was just an honour to see even an inkling of what he used to be.
And although he did lose the fight on the scorecards, though, was this one that you can kind of take away as a win for Clay Guida, looking so impressive at this age?
A bit of to think back, Clay Guida is how old now? 40?
Yeah, 43. I think he's 42 and he's going on 43, I think, just at the end of this year, so literally like a couple of weeks, I think.
And to think who he's fighting still. I'd say he's competing against high-level fighters. He's not competing against these newcomers or these fighters who are very, very unranked. Not the rankings, but very unranked, very much toward the bottom of the barrel. It's definitely a win. It would be interesting to see how long he fights for, but the way he fights as well, like his very much just his energy about him. It's like he's charged.
He's
charged.
You know what
just a great
me
word for it, to be fair.
You know what it reminds me of? In school there's just always that crazy guy, like ADHD, just on the back of the class, terrorising everyone. He has been that his whole career, and you look at him even walking into the octagon, his coach is full power, slapping him in the face every time before he gets in there.
And he's had that. And he's had his coach doing that to him for 15 years plus.
Probably like 45. Some of them, that's probably the hardest shot all night.
Right.
But, most impressive thing for me is, Joaquim Silva almost finished Arman Tsurukyan in his last fight, and we saw what Arman did to Dariush in the main event, which was crazy.
That was,
40
Absolutely
something
mental.
seconds.
Absolutely
You
mental.
gotta feel sorry for Benny though, but we'll get into that one later.
Yeah.
More on Clay Guida. An interesting point you were talking about, Ferg, was Hall of Fame we were speaking about before the podcast. Do you think he has a career that kind of registers that worthiness of getting into that Hall of Fame?
I'd say so because of what he has done
Mm,
for the sport, and if you look at the era as well,
yeah,
if you look at like the fights he had against
yeah,
the likes of
exactly. Diego.
I mean, and Pettis as well.
Yeah,
It's
he dominated young
Yeah.
Anthony Pettis.
That's mental as well.
And
When
RD, he beat RDA.
Pettis fell off a little bit
Mm,
towards the end, but
that
he
version of
was a
Pettis.
he was a baller back in the day.
So what? So yeah, you think he should be Hall of Fame? Yeah,
you kind of have to think so. He's fought almost every generation of fighter, really. Like he's
yeah,
fought 3, 4 generations of fighters.
Mm,
If not, I don't know how many there are exactly, but it feels like there's always something new. There's always some kind of new type of fighter,
mm,
and he's always been relatively. Although he may have fallen off slightly, I think a lot of that comes down to the age and the
yeah,
fact that he's just heading towards the retirement. Hopefully, very well. I say hopefully very soon. He looks fine,
yeah. He can
but
fight. Let him fight.
well, what I mean is that I think that a lot of that comes down to the fact that he has just been fighting for years and years. But if you look at him, he has been generally relatively consistent.
Mm,
He's always consistently fought. He's fought maybe twice a year minimum,
yeah,
which is quite a lot. And to be fair, we have fighters who are in their 30s fighting twice a year.
mm,
You know, some which are champions.
yeah,
So I think if you look at everything he's done, and then if you look at, it just makes sense.
yeah.
And what he did as well, like how, because there are lots of fighters who obviously never won a belt. And that's not to say that Clay is necessarily like the most deserving of them all, but he is always kind of been a contender, really.
Yeah, he has.
Not
And
now, but
yeah, like there's
He's
one.
always fought the best. He's
Yeah,
always
yeah,
fought the
exactly.
best competition that there was at the time.
Mm,
And sometimes it went his way, and sometimes it didn't. But he was always stood there at the end of the fight, like
yeah, love him.
smiling, loving it. Not never an ounce of quit in that guy.
No. Yeah, you gotta kill someone like that to stop him coming at you. And I'm glad he didn't get the win, to be honest, because that would have been some legendary stuff if he pulled that win off. You know, I know it wasn't too long ago he added the last win. I think he might have been on like a 2-fight losing streak coming into this one, maybe. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember he did submit, I think it was Santos or someone like that. I know it was a real high level jiu-jitsu guy.
Mm.
Put his wrestling shoes back on for that fight, brought back from back in the 90s.
Yeah, God.
But yeah, he was super impressed by him.
I can't believe he's still in it, man.
Yeah,
I can't
innit?
believe he's still like fighting, and he's not fighting bad fighters
Mm.
either. Like it's crazy how long he's been doing this for. It really is.
Yeah, I think, and he still looks like he's
We've
got.
got another one of them coming
Yeah.
up this week as well with Tim Elliott as well.
Yeah, I mean,
He's been in it a long
when did he
time.
fight Makayev? I swear he fought Makayev like a month.
Well, yeah, it wasn't. Yeah,
ago.
it wasn't long at all.
No.
Like he's been chucked straight back in the
Mm.
water, and he's been fighting in this organisation for 10+ years as well.
I mean, he had a really, really close fight with Demetrius Johnson, where submitted him.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Which is
yeah,
absolutely mental, especially
Yeah.
for when DJ was around.
Yeah.
Like crazy.
I mean, he's a nasty guy on the ground.
Mm.
So that'll be interesting to see
Yeah.
how that plays out this
Yeah,
weekend. But
yeah.
talking of nasty guys on the ground, Sean Brady put on a super impressive performance.
Yeah, it was incredible, but Gastelum has fell off.
Yeah, it was
Like
sad.
it's getting sad to
Mm.
watch now, and because I love Gastelum, so some of the fights we've seen him in
Yeah,
his past, absolutely incredible fights. Like
Mm.
fights you'll watch back for years, like for decades.
I mean that fight with Adesanya,
Yeah.
that was crazy, and that was on the same card as Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier too as
Which
well.
was mental too.
That was the main co-main event.
Yeah, what a card
yeah,
that
that
was!
was crazy.
What a stacked card
Yeah.
that was, just with the main two cards.
That was one that it's not hard to stay up till 6 a.m. for because it
But-
has you charged the whole way through.
I've always rated Brady ever since he came in. Like a lot of people were a bit shaky on him at the start,
Mm.
but
I mean,
he's looked pretty good.
When you get TKO'd by Belal Muhammad on the feet,
Which is mad, but that just proves that anybody
Yeah.
can knock you out. And
Yeah.
Bilal can't knock.
Belal still couldn't knock him out.
Yeah,
TKO'd. How many?
I think Bilal would struggle to knock me or you out. No, I'm joking.
No.
He'd obviously crack us, but
But Belal, yeah, it's an interesting guy. I mean,
weird dude. But
all the memes, like I saw a video of him hitting a tree, and it's like, "Oh, did you win by decision?" and stuff like this, and you know, people aren't the biggest fan of him. So I think Sean Brady, losing by TKO, kind of getting dominated as well, just broken down in that fight.
Yeah.
Kind of put a rough perspective on, but you know, I think me and you.
Well, that must have restored it a little bit in people, that fight with Gastelum
Yeah.
anyway, because like
Yeah, definitely.
he took Gastelum to school.
I mean, me and you, this was probably our pick of the night, right? We were probably the most confident one on this one, like on last week's podcast. So how shocked were you by this upset?
So with Brady, I think we spoke about how good he is, and I don't think we discredit him at all, really. And he's not somebody which you can really discredit because he is very good. But looking at how Gaston performed in his last fight, Gaston looked almost as if I don't know whether you say in his prime, but he looked on it. He looked sharp. He looked very
yeah.
much the way he was moving. He was bouncy. He was
That
fast.
was against Chris Curtis, wasn't it? That
Chris
was a
Curtis,
war.
which is a tough opponent as
yeah.
well to think because he's had a lot of there's been a lot of negativity with him for
Yeah.
multiple reasons, and not all in which are his fault at all, really. So looking at this fight, thinking he's going to come in and he's going to be very bouncy and very very explosive and almost dominant, really, because
Yeah.
I feel like you said, with Sean Brady, he doesn't necessarily cope too well to the pressure.
Yeah.
There wasn't too much pressure from Gaston at all, really. He wasn't explosive at all. It was he looked almost, I don't want to say washed, really, because to think that, one fight that happens. Because it's not, I don't know if it's wash or one bad fight, but he just did not look on it. He did not look as if, and he was on the ground as well.
Yeah,
The grappling was poor, which for Gastelum is really disappointing because that is one of his strongest aspects. He's good all round, but wrestling is one of his key attributes, one of the things he's best at. If you look at some of the fights he's had, it's been the wrestling. So
yeah, it was not a good one to watch.
But you can't discredit Brady at all.
No, you can't discredit Brady at all. He did an awesome job against what has been a very high level fighter, title contender, fought for the belt,
beats I think 6 former champions.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's had one hell of a career. The only thing is like his last fight he looked really good. He looked like he was getting back onto a track. That's what's really sad about it is because before that he was on like a 4 or 5 fight loss streak and he looked like trash. Yeah. And that's why it was sad. That's why it's really sad because if he doesn't find that incline, his career could be done. And we've seen people like that fall off.
Yeah, we have, even worse.
Massively.
But I mean, it was interesting that he was moving down to welterweight. I thought that was really the best move for his career. It's hard to kind of see where he goes from here because, you know, there was a few fights where he was kind of getting ragdolled up middleweight, but no one saw him as a bad grappler. People just thought, you know, he's a welterweight, just puffed up and fine at middleweight. But he looked in real good shape for this one. Sean Brady now 16-1. Says 9 times out of 10 he believes he beats Bilal Muhammad. That was just one of those nights. Don't think after getting dominated that bad you can really come out and say stuff like that. But you know you got to believe in yourself, haven't you? So
yeah.
I really want to see Sean Brady fight. I think he's got to fight up in the rankings. I was thinking Gilbert Burns, but I think Gilbert Burns has just been announced to fight. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I saw something earlier. There's some rumours that he's fighting someone, but I thought that would have been a good matchup. But you know he's got to fight up in the rankings. He was 15-0 before he lost to Bilal Muhammad. Bilal Muhammad's ranked number 3, I think. So you got to give him a tough fight next. Maybe someone who's just. I mean, Gilbert Burns would have been the perfect fight. Someone coming off a loss in the top 5 sort of area. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him next. I thought Gilbert Burns against Jack Della Maddalena. I saw earlier. That was it.
Maybe, yeah.
I saw a rumor. It's not confirmed or anything, but apparently they're working on it. So it's a good fight, but I think Sean Brady, Gilbert Burns would have been the fight to do, the smarter fight to do. But yeah, I hope he gets a big fight next because his last performance against Bilal Muhammad didn't really show what he can do. So it'll be interesting to see him fight. Maybe the winner of Wonder Boy and Shavkat, someone like that.
That'd be sick.
Or maybe Wonder Boy even if he loses to Shavkat, I think. But Wonder Boy don't want to fight these dominant grapplers now.
No,
that's just boring.
Yeah, it's boring. Yeah. It's boring for him and it's boring for us too.
Yeah.
Because it's a waste of someone who's pushing his age now, and like let him fight his fight now. Put him against up and coming.
Yeah.
up and coming kickboxers and good Muay Thai fighters and stuff like that,
Mm.
and let him cook for the rest of his days because
Well,
he's pushing his age, which is savage. Because he's one of my favorite fighters of all time.
I'm hearing that MVP fight might not be happening now, which is annoying.
Well, that is annoying. Sorry. When was MVP announced to move to the UFC
No,
anyway?
so basically he was in talks with the
And
UFC.
Dana, after it was leaked, Dana was never going to allow that fight to happen. He was always going to change
Well, I
it.
think he let
He didn't leak. He didn't leak.
He was on the podcast it got leaked on. It was
Yeah,
literally
but it
sat
was.
behind. It was behind
Yeah,
the
it
wall.
was. Yeah, you're right.
But it had
It
a
was.
red dot next to it, so I think maybe that means they were working on it. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe
but
they couldn't do it.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see MVP come to the UFC. I do think he'd be knocked out by most of them, though.
I don't think he'd be knocked out. I think he'd be
I
grappled
because
out.
yeah, he'd be grappled out. But I think I think a lot of them would just they know how that sort of style works.
I don't agree.
No, I do. I feel like
Look how no one's even come close to figuring out Wonder Boy.
he's
Yeah.
just so weird with it though. Like
Mate,
he's just so cocky. Like
yeah.
Anderson got knocked out purely because of how cocky he was.
But he's not like in the pocket trying to slip punches. He's like, still just
yeah.
bouncing in and out. I think he could come to the UFC and have like a Michael Chandler impact where he does get a big win over someone like Kevin Holland. But you know, once he does fight up, I think the grapplers will get to him. One fight, if he don't come to the UFC, I think PFL is the obvious option because PFL just
Is he not? Is he not? Oh, Bellator's not really a thing then.
No,
Oh,
yeah,
I suppose.
yeah, it's not saving now. But Cedric Doumbé, the French kickboxer who, I mean, that his fight, I think it was like a 10, 12-second knockout, his debut in PFL, and he is an elite glory kickboxer. So him versus MVP, that I'll happily watch that one.
Yeah,
instead.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I
and
think
they've
they
made
should do that
PFL.
straight
They've
away.
made PFL a lot easier for us to watch over
Yeah,
here now as well.
exactly.
So thank you, Bellator.
that would be really good if he don't go to
Or is it the other way around? No, no, it's that
well,
way.
it's PFL bought Bellator, so
Yeah, but PFL was the hard one
Yeah.
for us to watch, and now we can watch it all.
yeah. Next fight. This one, some big interesting talking points on this one. Rob Font versus Davison Figueiredo. Figueiredo's first fight at bantamweight, and in my opinion, looked very dominant. Just managing to negate all Rob Font's biggest weapons. Really looked good in the grappling. Looked like he carried the power up well. Does look like a naturally smaller guy, so that will be interesting to see how that is. But what do you think, Phil? How impressed were you by Figueiredo?
So it's interesting to first fight at bantamweight. He does definitely look, like you said, naturally a bit smaller. You see him fighting these flyweights, and obviously he's known for being a massive weight bully. That's the whole thing, cutting 40 pounds, which is ridiculously dangerous. He's known for being so much bigger and so much dominant. And with flyweights, if you're a skilled fighter, if you're a high level fighter, you're flying through a lot of these flyweights. You're cruising through. Bantamweight is going to be interesting. It's going to be very competitive. I think it's gonna make the division a lot more competitive. I think it's gonna make his fight as well a lot more competitive generally. With Figueiredo, when it came to the flyweight, you weren't really seeing him fight anyone other than the big one or two or three, really. And in bantamweight, it's going to be different because I think there's definitely a lot more talent there. His performance, though, you kind of think he's very versatile.
Yeah.
He's good at everything. He's been in the UFC for years, but he's almost he's new generation to an extent.
Yeah, definitely.
Like he's 100% new generation. He's not really, and with Rob Font, we talk about Rob Font jab. It's that jab he has, which he uses to set up, and it's so persistent. And the way he's able to sway it, I thought he was going to submit him personally. Figueiredo, yeah, not Rob Font, definitely not. But looking at him on the feet, I think we often forget about how good he is at striking, or how powerful he is at striking anyway, because we just don't see all of it.
Yeah. And I think it's an interesting point. Figueiredo, you kind of forget about those fights because those wars with Brendan Moreno, and you kind of forget how good and technical he is. So moving up a weight class, it was really good to see him put on a performance like that. The grappling looked really good. The striking was there the whole time. Kind of looked like he was the one who was always going to find the finish if there was going to be one. So there's so many new exciting matchups you can make with Figueiredo now.
He is like I agree with Fergal 100%. That division has just been stirred up.
Yeah,
Not even
yeah.
that it needed it. It didn't need it. There's a lot of
No,
competition in
fire,
there already.
yeah.
It's a fire division. But that has just stirred the
Mm.
whole mix up. Who the is he going to fight next?
I mean, the one I tweeted about that quite a lot of people liked, and I saw it everywhere else too. I think Figueiredo versus Peter Yan is the logical fight to go. I can imagine that
Yeah,
that's a war.
that is.
I mean,
Yeah.
it might be a bit slow to start off with,
I
but
mean, to come him, there must be people that are a little bit shook right now. I mean,
Mm.
come in and beat someone like Rob Font easily, like
Yeah.
he did, like because there was no doubt about it. He was
Mm.
the one that looked like he was winning the
Yeah.
whole time in that fight. Distance
definitely.
managing, everything like that. Like he just kept like Rob Font couldn't get anything off, and even when Figueiredo wanted to keep him in close, he did. Like when he got full guard, or full mount,
Yeah,
sorry,
mounted
like
him,
top
yeah.
mount. Yeah, he mounted him, and literally he was not letting him get out of that
No.
for shit. Like every time he tried to roll, he slipped with the arm and just held him there and just
Seemed like a stronger dude.
pressed down with the chest. Yeah, he was which is weird because he is naturally a little bit smaller than that
5'5".
division. Yeah,
He's tight. He's
yeah,
a
he's
small
tiny.
guy,
He's
but
a flyweight. He's flyweight size. He's just wham.
he's just
Whitson.
0% body fat.
Yeah.
And I think there's so many matchups. I want to see Peter Yan. So you think Peter Yan? Maybe you could do like a Henry Cejudo. And there's loads of good ones. With the wingers Song and Gutiérrez. Any of these fights are absolute bangers. What direction do you want to see it go? Really?
I think Peter Yan. I
Yeah.
think that's the best big fight to start off with. That's kind of the best fight.
What's the bet they chuck him in with the champ straight away?
Sure. Sure, done.
Fair, that could be good though. That could.
I need one more.
Yeah, I don't want to see that.
That's what I mean. That's why we want to see Peter Yan first.
Yeah.
That's kind of a fight to get to. Really, that's kind of the gatekeeping fight. I think.
I think that one's stylistically probably one of the best matchups you can make in this division right now. Because Figueiredo, he's a smart fighter. We saw him not so much with the pressure in this fight, but he's going to look to set up that big right hand. The left hook, he's probably got, those Brazilians and their left hooks. He's got that Alex Pereira left hook. How many people he's wobbling and putting down with that one, and makes it look so like effortlessly easy as well. So, and Peter Yan takes, a couple rounds to kind of download the data at the start. So it'll be really interesting to see if Figueiredo has the power to hurt him early. And we've seen if you can kind of get Peter Yan's attention earlier in the fight, you can kind of make him freeze up in moments of the fight. Is when you kind of let him, you kind of fight that distance kickboxing fight with him where he will just get everything on you and start to dominate.
Just takes over.
But yeah, what about you? Do you want to see him fight maybe a grappler or Peter Yan as well?
I mean, yeah, I'd like to see him fight Peter Yan. I mean, everyone's saying Peter Yan though, so it'd be nice to see.
Little change.
It would nice to see, nice to be for someone to say something else. But
Sanhagen, mate.
taller than Sanhagen would be interesting, but I don't think that's the fight for him right now either.
No, I don't. I think
It's a difficult one, really, because everyone's saying Peter Yan. I'm gonna have to go with that.
You know what one I think?
I don't want that.
I think Henry Cejudo. Him and Henry. Henry was.
Is he back now?
Yeah,
full time.
Yeah, I've seen that he's back full time. I don't know who he's gonna fight. I mean, he's been calling out quite a few people, which I know you just think is part of that sort of
Conor McGregor thing.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for a long time now.
But he agreed to fight after the Aljo title fight, and he pulled out shortly after. I don't know who it was against. Maybe like a Sanhagen or a Yan or someone like that.
Yeah, maybe.
But
I think it might have been Peter Yan.
Yeah, I think him and Figueiredo is a great fight. Both of them, one of the best flyweight fight. Both of them are two of the best flyweight fighters ever. So
I don't ever want to see him come back, mate.
Yeah, but come on, the style was a good fight.
Yes, it's a good fight. I just can't stand him. I actually can't. He's one of them fighters for me where I can't do it. I was glad when he retired. Triple champ, my ass.
We'll go into the next one. We'll only touch on these last two briefly because there's not much to talk about. Bobby Green went in there confident as always, kind of shouting, "This is my city, this is my city." But Jalen Turner, he turned up and showed him whose city it was. A brutal knockout. One major talking point that we all have got on our heads. So, do you want to start us off? What do you think about the ref?
So I'm really poor from a ref. Like why he let why Bobby Green's out of the pulse. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, just
Gotta
let him kill him.
let him
Like,
die,
no,
innit?
but seriously,
That's what Armin thinks.
the moment in which you drop to the floor and you're on your back and you're not really responding and
Face
you're
down.
just at that point it's over really. And the moment you're out cold and you're being thrown like 3 punches at,
Mm.
like it's ridiculous. There was probably stopped about 14 punches too late, if I'm honest with you. And that's not even an over exaggeration, really, which is a shame, really, because the ref, he's normally quite good.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we were saying at the time it's a state ref, which is actually not. It was a ref. It's a UFC ref. He's usually a decent ref. Dana kind of stuck up for him afterwards a bit, but in my opinion,
I've never seen him before reffing
no,
on the
he has
UFC,
though.
and
He has.
I can't ever recall him.
Nah, he has though.
But I mean, I've watched him for 10 plus years.
He's not like a super regular ref, but he's one that they do. He's
It's
one
one they must use. One
Yeah.
they must use for that state.
Yeah, maybe.
But
either way, people were kind of sticking up for him afterwards. But
that was trash, though.
in my opinion, that's the sort of thing. Shots to the back of the head. There's a chance you can cost someone maybe their life, or we've seen real bad accidents.
Serious CT in future years.
In my opinion, that
caused
should
by stuff like that.
I know it's pretty brutal, and I don't want to be like I hate this sort of cancel culture or anything. But as a ref, you're getting paid X amount of money a year to make sure that make sure that stuff doesn't happen. So is that worthy of losing your job? That's like. Well, that's equivalent to someone doing something awful in their 9 to 5 job, isn't it? So
Yeah, I think a lot of it's to do with. I don't want to say a lot of it's to do with stuff like your record, as to how you've done as a ref, but he's ref multiple different UFC cards. He's a UFC referee.
Yeah.
He's not a state official, like you said. He has refed a lot of these big events. It's a hard one, really, because that is very, very poor, and it's very hard to justify wanting to ref again. At the
Yeah.
same time, though, it's not as simple as it was just a bad night, because that's more serious than just a bad night. You have to also think to yourself, well, I don't understand why you do that, though. If you're consistently refereeing, why you think that's
In my opinion, it should have been stopped as soon as he dropped him. Bobby Green, his legs go completely, wobbles on the feet, and then he eats a nasty straight right and falls face first. Well, not face first, but face down.
Yeah, face down. I mean, he did have his hands underneath him, sort of, at the start.
Yeah,
And
maybe one or two.
One or two of them punches, and that referee should have been jumping in. But I think he ate like 8 or 9 shots. That's ridiculous.
He went out and woke up again.
Yeah,
twice.
Like, you could see it.
Yeah.
Like you could see it. His whole head would hit the head. Oh yeah,
yeah.
Hit the canvas. It was gross to watch.
I saw. I think it was Frank Mir maybe on a podcast talking about the fight, and he was saying when someone's got your back like that and they're hitting you in the side of the head, it's kind of like double impact because your head's just straight on that canvas, and it is padded, but
not much.
No,
there's not much padded on that.
So it's bad. And Bobby Green has replied he's healthy, he's okay. He said I saw a clip afterwards. He was like, I was wondering why so many people were asking if I was okay, and now I've just watched the fight, and he understands. He's not outraged by it. Bobby Green's a chill dude. He's not going to say anything bad, but
he's from the streets. He's seen that a million times in his life.
I don't know if any of you guys saw, but Armin says he thinks the ref should let it go 5 minutes longer. That's what he said in the interview.
I did see that. I saw it in the YouTube Shorts.
Yeah, so he's getting slated on Twitter right now. If you're fighting, I have no.
Yeah,
it's a fine game. It's fine, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just talk, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
People talk shit. It's that sort of. All of them are so hyped off their adrenaline and training their ass off
mate around the hotel.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can see why he's angry.
Something which is nice though. Julian Turner afterwards in the interview, respectful about it, and he did comment on how he didn't want to.
No, he didn't want to fight him, did he?
And it's a shame because when you're in a position as a fighter, you kind of have to play to the bell, play to the whistle.
Yeah, you do.
And you can't stop throwing strikes because of it. You have no option but to carry on, and it's disgusting, really, because to think the referee let go for that long, if he thought to himself, all right, it's over now, and then stood back up, what could have happened? Even more damage, potentially, if Green were to somehow get back up.
Yeah.
Because the referee's eyes, clearly he thought to himself, well, surely he's got a chance. Surely he's going to,
Yeah, you have to be at least half blind to think that he hasn't got a chance in
He
that
must have had
situation.
some
Then,
deep shit going on.
yeah, right.
Some deep, yeah, stuff
That's
going on in his head right then.
because that's like he was. You could. There was no way he was getting back up in that
Hmm.
situation. No way. His head was bouncing off the canvas
Yeah.
for like fucking a minute straight.
So he's
Yeah.
either like a massive Armour fan or a massive Bobby Green fan, thinking he can just pull it back.
Maybe he's just
One of
thinking
the two.
about like his kid's birthday on the weekend. Or something like
Yeah, his mind was somewhere
Yeah,
else.
somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere else completely.
Yeah.
Based now, I don't think Bobby Green looked too poor though. I think Jalen Turner is just such a hard opponent.
Yeah, it was a dodgy matchup for him, wasn't
I
it?
think there are a lot of matchups at lightweight, if I'm honest with you, are going to be.
Bobby Green's the king.
Yeah, they kind of stiffed him with that one as well because it was
I
late
mean,
notice for
yeah.
Jalen.
I mean,
like
no one
that.
else want. I mean, to be honest,
I was wanted to fight Terry.
Terry McKinney offered to step up. There was a few others.
McKinney would have been sick. That would
Terry
have been a good
McKinney,
fight.
Bobby Green. Yeah, that
McKinney's a
was
wild guy too, and he's lengthy as well. So it's a similar fight, but he's not
It's not
as
good.
he's not as
Good.
skilled. He's not like he's a good fighter.
Yeah.
He's just not as skilled as Jalen Turner is
I mean,
right now.
yeah, you guys know I'm a massive fan of
Yeah,
Terence,
he's a massive fan. We all love Terence.
yeah, just pure actual the kickboxing ability of Jalen's high level. Bisping brought him in to help train for Anderson Silva. Someone I think maybe DC or someone brought him in to imitate John Jones when he was younger. So when he was on the regional scene, he was being used by world champions to imitate these elite strikers. So you can see how much talent he has, and it's just the power and the speed and the accuracy. Uh, Tough loss last time to Dan Hooker, but
Yeah,
that was kind of Hooker's
you've
toughness, right?
yeah, that's the thing. Like Hooker's another one that gets slept on a little
Mm,
bit, in my opinion,
yeah.
because he's a bit of a punching bag, and everyone knows that. I'm not going to deny it. He's a bit of a punching bag. He loves to get hit.
What
He
about
loves to
that
be
for boxing?
broken in a fight. He does. He loves to be broken before he does anything. But he does absolutely. But he
Bring
finds a way of
Yeah.
doing it. He finds a way of pulling
Mm.
himself back and killing people, and it's mental. He's one
Yeah.
of my favourite fighters to watch, just because I
Mm.
love how much he
Yeah,
can take and how
man.
much he's ready to
I
give.
would have. I think that fight was a much better matchup. That would have been such a sick fight.
Yeah, I
Really.
was so looking forward to that fight.
I think we should go on to the main event. Not necessarily talk about the fight as much because there wasn't much of a fight, but Arman, in my opinion, could maybe deserving to leapfrog Gaethje, and maybe not Gaethje, but
Yeah,
the
he
fight's
shouldn't
more
be
interesting.
Gaethje,
No, but the fight is more interesting.
yeah, I think he's going
Islam,
to.
I don't know if he will, but I think the fight.
It's more interesting.
Yeah,
It
the
is more
rematch
interesting.
between Islam and
Definitely.
Arman.
Everyone's been saying that
Yeah.
all over Verdict, all
Yeah.
over fucking Twitter.
Yeah.
I've even like Instagram feeds and stuff like that. I've seen it everywhere. That is literally the main thing people want to see right now.
How shocked were you with the knockout though? 40 something seconds. Nasty right hand, not necessarily known for his knockout power with his hands, definitely a powerful kicker. But, it's harsh for Benel Dariush, but, very good farm and
I was disappointed. I wanted I wanted Dariush to win. To win. I wanted Benny to win. That's what I was trying to say.
What do you think though?
It's one of these things. Tsurukyan, he looks better and better every fight,
Yeah, he
and he
does.
looks like he's capable of more every fight. I didn't anticipate this at all. I thought it was going to be a really technical wrestling fight.
Same.
I thought it was going to be really fun. I thought it was going to be 5 rounds. I could have potentially seen a finish maybe later on part of Armin, because Dariush on the ground, his grappling, his scrambling
Mm.
is so exciting to watch. It didn't turn out bad at all, really. Tyree it's interesting because, like you said, he's not known for having this knockout power, but now he is.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, he's known for everything, really. He is the definition of a new generation fighter.
Yeah. Would you rather see him fight Islam next instead of Oliveira or Gaethje?
It's hard because it's leapfrogging.
Yeah.
And in fairness to him, I mean, Dariush, when you beat an opponent like Dariush and you've been on the tear you need to fight somebody like the Makhachev
Should
like that.
be Dustin Poirier, really. Him against Poirier, but Poirier just is not interested in fighting any of these young up and comers. He
No.
just wants big fights, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I think the UFC tends to do this with fighters as well. So
Yeah.
there is a high chance he does get leapfrogged.
Yeah,
But
I think
they
want
might
to give it to Gaethje.
they want to give it to
Yeah,
Gaethje,
I'm pretty
but
sure.
but this could mix it up.
Yeah.
That win could mix it up.
And let's be real, Arman, I really think Arman is probably the third best lightweight under Oliveira. In my opinion, Arman beats Gaethje. Just the grappling and the striking. I mean, in his UFC debut at 22 years old,
Gaethje could just land a hand.
yeah, he can with anyone, but
Yeah.
you know, what's more likely, him getting submitted or landing multiple shots to knock Arman out? In my opinion, he's more likely to get submitted. We've seen his ground game. But Gaethje is a dangerous fight. Charles for me is the second best lightweight, but Arman's right up there with these guys. And if Poirier's not going to fight him, it's kind of hard. He has to kind of fight down because Benil was that next guy. Maybe Gamrot do the rematch. That was
He shouldn't be fighting down now though.
no, but Gamrot might be just above him. He just beat Faziev. I mean, he might not be above him, but they'll be very close in the rankings. And
Yeah.
Gamrot has the win over him, which a very close fight it was. But I think that's the one you have to run back if he's not getting the title.
I don't think he'll want to fight down now though.
No,
I don't think he'll take
if they offer Gamrot and
you think he'll take that?
Well, Gamrot's got a win over him in the last
Yeah,
year
that's
and
true.
a half.
That
You'd
is
want to
true.
get that back.
That's
wouldn't you?
yeah, especially if you're on the tail
Yeah,
on right now. Yeah.
It's
So
a
I think-
really tight fight as well.
Yeah,
It was
I mean,
like
I think we both thought Arman won, me and you at the time.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one to run back. We are going to give kind of just brief predictions. I'm going to even say quick fire predictions because it is late over here. But I'll start us off for the next week's card. The first fight on the card, Park Chan-young against Andre Muniz. Andre Muniz really struggling lately. At one point, he was such a dangerous jiu-jitsu guy, snapping Jacare Souza's arm off his back. Even so, that just shows how dangerous he is. Park Chan-young for me is one of the more underrated fighters in the UFC. Kind of has a few wins and losses, but against some very good people. He had an absolute war with Gregory Rodriguez, and I think his in the pocket boxing is going to be a bit too much for Andre Muniz if he can't get him down.
Slow though.
Yeah, he is very
Slow. So I don't know how he throws his punches that slow and still gets them off.
It's just
Like it's weird.
power stiff in it.
Yeah,
when he punches
it's a
like that.
strange, it's a
Yeah.
strange thing. I do probably agree though. I
Mm.
think he's probably going to beat. He's probably going to beat Muniz.
I'm going to go by third round TKO. What are you boys thinking?
it is like you said, the speed,
Yeah,
and Muniz is not somebody who's going to get caught out by slow speed. Although I think he's also going to get worn out just by the sheer volume because he's going to get caught.
yeah,
Muniz's distance management, his utilization of just maintain that rage. Parky, like I say, he's much more in the pocket.
yeah.
I also think though that the moment you take a few of these shots and the moment these shots do, I'm going to say third round TKO, maybe even a finish.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Why are you going, Harry?
I don't really know.
No.
I don't really know for this fight. I actually don't.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
He's slow. He's slow.
what are you going to pick on verdict?
Well, I don't know. It's not the night, is it? I don't want to fall in line though. But he's slow, but he does get his shots off.
Just we got to think how.
I don't know if it's gonna. I don't know if he'll knock him out or thingy. Muniz could just absolutely wrap him up.
Yeah, he could very well wrap.
Do you know what? I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go Muniz. I'm going to say Muniz is going to wrap him up late. He's going to tire him out and wrap him up.
Going into the next one, Tim Elliott, coming back not too long after his fight with Makayev against how shall I say it?
I don't know. I don't know if you can even pronounce.
Oh, you're all right. Yeah, you give it a go.
Tsuruyan.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Madaji. Tim Elliott.
Madage. Yeah, I reckon that's right.
And the
Difficult one to say.
the fight went on. He's been in the UFC a very long time now, since 2018. But
What, Sue?
yeah, and
Wow.
the fight that kind of sticks out to me is his Matt Snell fight. He is an elite sort of Muay Thai fighter. He's from that sort of region. Nasty elbows, but kind of
Oh, that
it was bad.
he had Matt Schnell wobbling all over the place with them elbows. Yeah.
And that was one of the best comebacks I've seen when Matt Schnell managed to submit him. It is, and I think it's kind of the same fight. Tim Elliott, he's a very hard guy to fight, kind of hit clean. He's got a very awkward fighting style, kind of like a Dominic Cruz off Wish, if you'd say, or something like that. But
Yeah.
kind of just weird footwork. Kind of takes those angles always. His head's always off the center line.
I don't know. Wish might be a bit harsh. I mean, he's made it work for him
Yeah.
for a long time.
But Sumadaji, he's a nasty striker. But I think this fight kind of goes the same way as the Matt Schnell one, where this might be a bit mental. I'm going Tim Elliott submission. I don't actually know who's the favourite, but I think Tim Elliott's going to get hurt early,
'Cause
wear him out, and submit him.
The thing is Tim has got the gas tank to just
yeah,
go. Like,
and he's a really good wrestler.
Yeah, he's
Good
incredible.
jiu-jitsu. had Mikhail in some serious trouble off his back a couple of times, I think,
Yeah.
armbar and stuff like that. So
Yeah, he's just relentless is the perfect word for Tim
I'm
Elliott.
going with the old veteran grappler. I don't know what you guys are. You aiming
What
for
you
more
saying for
I want to
striker?
go second round stuff. I really do.
Yeah,
Looking at Sue as well, he gets subbed a lot,
yeah, yeah.
and I can't see Tim Elliott having too hard a time.
But I think he might have a hard time on the feet though.
Yeah,
But he's tough on the feet
Yeah,
though. That's the
and
thing.
he's
He is
real hard
just
to hit.
really tough on the feet.
Mm,
So it doesn't matter how hard you hit, unless you hit hard enough to
mm,
finish him. Which, to be fair, he might.
yeah,
Although Tim Elliott does also like just. I'm gonna go second round sub.
nice. I like that. I like that.
yeah, I do like that too. I'm going to go a bit later. I think it's going to take him a little bit more time to grind on him,
So,
wear him out. So I'm going to say round 3. Maybe even late round 3. It'd be nice. Can you imagine a nice little
yeah.
last 10 seconds?
Well, I'm going round 3 shots.
Yeah, I reckon I'm going for that.
This one, to be honest, this is a card coming back from how poor a week I had last week. It's not the greatest rebound card, so yeah, I'm more confident on the park fight than this one. Tim Elliott, being as old as he is, taking as much damage as he has, fighting such a killer on the feet, it's going to be
it's going to be a tough one
yeah,
for him.
it's a real
It's
hard
going to be
one.
gritty. If he gets caught standing, it's going to be a gritty one for him.
And but that's why I'm going with him. You say it's gritty, that's what he embraces.
That's literally like that's his thing. Tim Elliott embraced that hillbilly a long time ago.
The next fight on the card, Nasrat Haqparast against Jamie Malarkey. In my opinion, Jamie Malarkey, I always thought he was a bit better than how he's been shown recently. I thought he lost the fight to Michael Johnson, and I also was his last fight, yeah, against John Madesi. I thought he lost that fight too. It was a very close one, but Madesi was finding his kicks very well at range. Malarkey's a bit simple, kind of don't move his head off the centre line.
That's what gets him. That's that he could be 10 times better than what he actually is. I think if he just learned how to move a little bit better.
Yeah,
because he's a very standstill, stiff sort of guy. Like it's always there's no circling out, foot movement. He's just a bit standstill.
Cool fact for you guys here. Volkanovski knocked out Jamie Malarkey at welterweight back in the day.
Wow.
Volkanovski, when he was
Welterweight,
from the rugby
Jesus
days, knocked out
Christ.
Malarkey in like 30 seconds, like straight away.
I can't believe Volk,
mate.
how Volk was like heavier than most fucking heavyweights walk around at one point.
Yeah. Nasrat Haqparast got a good
light heavyweights.
got a good comeback win in his last one fight, and who was it? It was the guy off tough, wasn't it? Yeah, Landon Canones. Great fight, in my opinion, one of the fights of the year. In the pocket, real boxing. I'm going Nasrat Haqparast. I think his boxing's a little bit more clean. Jamie Malarkey hasn't looked great in his last few outings, so yeah, I'm going Haqparast.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Haqparast.
I'm gonna go decision.
He's decision. Yeah. I think decision too as well.
Tough.
Malarkey is tough.
Yeah, same again. And trouble is, like you said, with Malarkey, the head movement,
Yeah,
he's getting pieced up.
yeah. It's going to be a good fight, but I think the head movement will cause him a bit too many issues.
Just for technicality,
Yeah.
just the accuracy as well, you know.
So yeah, we got you agreeing Haqparast. Next fight, Anthony Smith stepping in short notice, fighting, in my opinion, one of the better Muay Thai sort of fighters in the UFC, Khalil Roundtree. I think he's on a 5-fight win streak, beating Dustin Jacoby, former K1 Glory fighter. So real good striker. I think this is a terrible matchup for Anthony Smith. It's very clear at this point in his career he cannot check leg kicks. Khalil's got some of the nastiest leg kicks in the game. So,
and he always seems to walk himself into these fights with the nasty fucking Muay Thai fighters that will just batter your legs. And it's the one thing he can't take anymore.
I'm going to go quite bold with this one. I'm going to go Khalil Roundtree decision. I think he's going to drop Anthony Smith like 4 times, drop him twice with leg kicks. But Anthony Smith just is still a real tough dude. We saw that in his Ryan Spann fight. He had the option to quit in that fight, and I think you can push Anthony Smith to a limit where he does kind of maybe not quit, because we've seen him just getting battered a lot, and he stays there and he's talking to Glover. I remember he's on the bottom and he says, "Oh, my teeth fell out" or something like that. And Glover says, "Sorry."
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, it's all right, man. You got to do what you got to do." So. Yeah,
Yeah.
it shows that he's that sort of his mindset for fighting, and I think it's going to be a rough one, but he's going to make it through to the scorecards. What do you boys think?
Khalil Roundtree, I think, like you said, this is a poor matchup for Anthony Smith. It's, in all fairness, probably one of his tougher, more recent opponents.
Hmm.
You know, I know that
Yeah,
he had that
definitely.
finish. I think was the ankle eye finish,
Yeah.
which to be fair, is also a very hard fight. Although I think ankle eye stylistically is probably a bit more comfortable.
Mm.
Yeah,
One,
I agree with that.
I think Khalil Roundtree with the explosiveness, like you said, leg kicks as well. I think he's going to finish him.
Yeah.
He's going to second round finish.
Nice. What about you, Harry? Do you think he's going to finish him, or do you
Yeah,
think
I
Anthony
think
Smith can win?
I'm.
Submission. He can win by sub.
He could win by sub. Yeah, he could. It's not likely though. He had the dog taken out a while ago.
Yeah.
He hasn't looked the same really for me. He's looked. There's been a couple of occasions where he's looked like he could come back, but ever since Jones,
Yeah.
he's done. It's been done for him.
Yeah, I think it was a big win last time out, but you know he beat Ryan Spann such an easy fashion the first time.
That was crazy.
Yeah, that last time didn't look as good, but the win's the win. Going on to the main event, Song Yudong, still a very young fighter, just coming into his prime in my opinion. I think he's 26 or something like that. So looking dominant win against Ricky Simone, coming off I think a knockout before that again as well. So
knocking out Ricky Simone is not easy.
Yeah, and he picked him apart. 5 rounds of domination.
That's hard when you've got someone who's like Ricky Simone, who is in your face all the time. He's one of the most forward bouncy guys I've ever seen in my life.
And Chris Gutierrez, very long, lengthy striker. I think he might cause a problem in the early few minutes, but I think once the power starts landing, it's going to be a kind of rough night. I'm going to go third round TKO by Song Yudong. I think that's how it's going to go. What are you boys saying?
Second round.
Second round.
I think he causes them more damage more quickly.
I'm just gonna throw it out there and go mental. I'm gonna get Chris Gutierrez.
No.
Yeah, I'm doing it just to be different, and he has got the ability to.
He needs to stay away.
He's like I was watching some of his highlights back earlier, and I watched one of his fights, and he loves to catch people with that reverse side kick to the body.
Yeah,
absolutely loves that. And for someone like Song Yudong, who is always in your face again, like I said a minute ago, it could be very easy for him to walk onto.
Yeah, I can see him kind of keeping Song Yudong at range, but Song Yudong is just so fast that the power is just going to be scary, and that's flying at you for 5 rounds instead of 3. It's a hard matchup.
I'm just saying, I'm throwing that out there. That's not something I necessarily think is going to happen, but I'm going to say it just because I don't want to be the same all the time, innit?
Yeah,
you've got to be a bit different.
I think we'll wrap it up there. That's basically what we've got to talk about this week. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Combat Chatters podcast. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. We're uploading there now. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram. Make sure you share us with your friends so we can grow. We hope you enjoyed this week. Thanks for listening.